All right, everyone. Hey, welcome again to the Gopher CEO community. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today is November 10th, 2020. We're in the Corona year, right? It's a crazy time, but, I'm excited again for yet another CEO, co-founder of a company. What we do here is we interview, just entrepreneurs, founders, CEOs of companies that really are doing some things in their local community and that are growing, that are startups to $25 million in revenue. And today I've got a special guest. This gentleman's a father to a beautiful daughter. His daughter goes to the school as my daughter's school goes to. And, we built a friendship over the last year, gotten a chance to get to know each other. And he was so, nice to be able to just say, hey, yeah, John, I'll support you and the Go for CEO community and share my story of where he's come from. So, Julian, welcome to the Go for CEO community.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome, brother. Well, thank you so much for being here. So, we usually like to start off a little bit about kind of you and where you come from, and obviously a little bit of the vision of where you started. So, tell us a little bit about that and where you're coming from.
Well, Garcia Professional Drywall, I'd say it's a family-owned business since day one. Company was started back in 1988. It's a lot of history in it.
Mm.
But, over 30 years. Well, yeah, around there. Um, yeah, so it was started by my father. My father, who he started the company with just all he had was the drive and desire and the will just to want more for himself, for his family, try to give his kids and family a brighter opportunity for a better tomorrow. And I think that drive is really what made Garcia Professional Drywall possible. That desire to succeed and achieve more. So, um, when we started, we only did drywall and residential.
Hmm.
Because my father, he was a taper. He became a taper in the 80s and the early 80s, and he did such a good job and got really proficient and professional at it. Sooner or later, one of the clients that told him, you know what, why don't you do your own work?
Mm.
And you do such a great work, try it. And my dad always had this entrepreneurial mindset that pretty much just comes from my grandfather, his dad, and he didn't think about it twice. It's like I'm gonna take the chance, I'm gonna go for it, and here we are.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you know what? I mean, I'm standing in front of a wall, and you think, hey, the paint is what makes it look good. No, no, no. The taping is what makes it look good because it could be uneven, it could be not smooth. So for those of you that don't understand, that's what that means is taping of the drywall and really starting to put together. And you, like you said, that was the beginning of it, right? So tell us a little bit about kind of where you're at now and how you got integrated. So your dad started the business. You're growing up, were you kind of seeing your dad, grow this business and then, got interested, or how did that work out for you to be a co-owner now?
Well, that's very interesting, a very good question because there's a very interesting story behind it since I was a young kid, and we're talking. Uh, we always saw our dad wake up in the morning, and for him it became back by 5 o'clock. It was the early day,
Hmm.
5 o'clock afternoon. He was doing 12, 14 hours. Even even before he opened his company, he was already a taper and he was starting to get side jobs. So he will work his 8, 10 hours and then go work till 9 o'clock, make
Wow.
some extra cash, and eventually, he took the chance and opened his company. And so that's what we always saw our dad working hard, 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 and always being a go getter and never being satisfied, always wanting more. And we saw that from him. And um, our summer breaks. I remember when I was a young kid, I was in second grade, maybe first. I don't remember exactly. My brother and I, he's a year younger than I am, and our summer breaks, they weren't like, oh, we're gonna go play all day, hang out with the neighbors, ride bikes, and so on, play video games. No, that wasn't for us. Once in a while, but not all the time, but mostly he'll wake us up at 6, go to work, come back at 5, 6, 7, tired, and that was our summer break. And winter break and whatever break we had, that's what we did.
That's awesome.
So for us, that's for us working long hours and working a lot it's never been scary for us. And so that built into us a understanding of what we need to do in real life. As even as young kids, we will get paid, not a lot, but we will get rewarded for our efforts. And it's not like we were, the kids or the owner of the boss, so we will slack off. No, on the contrary, if he saw us slacking off as young kids, he will be hard on us. We will get an earful. He didn't want his kids slacking off. He wanted his kids working.
Yeah.
So he was tough on us, and that's a very good thing. That builds a lot of good character and good discipline. And as we kept on growing, we became more involved in the company. We started doing more work, and I started focusing a lot in the estimating department once I was in high school and after high school. And I saw my dad's success as a person who had, I think in Mexico, he finished, I think he did finish high school.
Mm.
I don't remember, but he didn't go any further than that. But we saw things that we didn't see on a lot of people. For example, to my mom's side, really quick, my 3 uncles, very intelligent people. They went to the University of Mexico. They're great, very smart people, but none of them succeeded. They were incredible at math, and they all became engineers, but none of them succeeded like my dad did, not even close. And my dad didn't have that formal education, but he had the discipline, the drive. And as we grew up, we saw that those were more important qualities, that when you blend in education and study, that you have a great recipe for success. But I guess I decided to follow in the business and maintain it and try to amplify and grow it. Because one thing is starting a business that requires certain things, certain processes and sacrifices, but another thing is keeping it, maintaining it for the long run. That's a whole different game plan. So we started that working a lot, and we loved the fact that he was making good money for himself. He was making a good living for himself. He could afford many of the nicer things that he wanted. And we liked that. And we liked the fact that if he wanted to take a week off, from work, go to vacation, take his kids to wherever, his family, he could do that. We love the freedom that brings. It's a lot of responsibility, but it also affords you other freedoms that as an employee are not exactly there.
No doubt. And you've said it, the foundation that your dad laid down of work ethic, of not treating you special because you were the kids of the owner, right? And he had put in his time, so he knew the value of being able to also show you, because he came from a situation that he was grunting it out, right, making it work. So walk us through that. Obviously through your high school years, you got this plan during the summer that you worked. You didn't really, mess around. Tell us about how. Okay, so you get into the business. You kind of got steered towards a certain direction in the business. What's that startup, and what are you starting to say to your dad about as far as how you're starting to become part of the business?
Well, as I become more comfortable, more confident in myself, as I'm, as a teenager and young adult, I started saying, what, like, why don't we start doing, different things? Well, why don't we start doing the different things as far as like offer more trades, more scope to the clients, and like on a small tangent, like we were we were looking at starting different businesses.
Mm.
Yeah, let's do this, let's do that. And I think he saw that I had, I guess in a way, inherited that entrepreneurial spirit from my grandfather and him, and he really liked it. So we would try this, we would try that. Some things will work out, some things won't. But like one of the important things that he showed us is, as a business person, you need to learn how to lose.
Mm.
Because
Wow.
if you learn how to lose, that doesn't mean that you want to lose or you should lose. No, it just means that if you lose or if you get a setback, you gotta get yourself back up, dust yourself up, see what you did wrong, become better, become stronger, become smarter, and it will be that much more tougher for you to fail in the future. You just have to learn experience. There's a lot of value, So he taught us that, and he will let us, bang our head here and there, metaphorically, and like, but those were great learning experiences. They were so great, and as he saw that we liked that kind of stuff, he just brought us more and more. He always wanted to have the family like in the business. He's a big family guy, like the show. He taught my uncle, his brother. He showed him the ropes of the business, and my uncle opened his own business up north by Marengo. He got his own business too, and we worked together. So he showed a lot of people the ropes, and because of him, many people in the area from his hometown that live around here, they've been successful.
Wow, that's awesome. You come into a business that's established. You've had quite a few summers learning from it. Where in the business did you initially fit? So were you in operations, in marketing? It sounded like you had some ideas of maybe even starting different divisions of the business. How did you incorporate yourself initially and over the next few years?
In the beginning, and as a young adult, I was more in the field. Like I said, we did a lot of residential, so I would measure homes, to do takeoffs at the site. I would that's kind of more into operations, and also I was also in the helping the employees, the workers, do work, unload, clean, and a lot of the things that a lot of labor work. You
Okay.
know, that's what we did, and I didn't really start getting into the office thing and into the office area and so much later until I came back from Mexico.
Oh, okay. So you spent some time in Mexico then, or?
Yeah, um, from 2011 till 2000, yeah, pretty much almost 2016, like 4+ years.
Oh,
I
wow.
lived in Mexico.
Well, was that just strategic? Were you learning from some family out there, or kind of
No,
developing a
I
different
was
skill?
I don't know. I was in my mid 20s. I wanted to go there, try it out, and I just said, let's go. When you're young like that, you act first, you can think later.
All right. So
So
you're in the business. You start with them. You kind of get in the field, and then around a few years later, you decide, hey, you're going back to Mexico, or at least want to go visit and stay there a while.
yeah, I was planning to stay in there maybe for like I don't know. I wanted because my dad has some business in Mexico. I wanted to check that out too.
Okay.
And but eventually, life God threw a huge curveball in Mexico, and we could probably do another interview on that.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Thanks to that, I met my wife. I have two beautiful daughters. So it was a wonderful time. Um, but yeah, so before I left to Mexico, I was starting to get more into the estimating and management.
Okay.
Um, and when I came back, that's when the business really started taking a very different direction. You know, you know, because by the time I came back, my sister was in the business, my brother was in the business, and our dad was still in the business.
Mm.
So it was already a much bigger operation. When I came back, and we just turned it into the operation it is right now, and the steps we're taking in the future.
So when you left to Mexico, about how much revenue do you think, just guesstimating wise, were you guys doing?
Not a lot, because that's when the economy, crashed in '07, '08.
Hmm.
And then like for the next 4 years, the business was not that great. It got extremely competitive. Think about it. The A lot of the people that worked in construction, they lost their jobs during that time, so they became independent contractors. They started their own little business, and began to compete with those people.
Hmm.
And when you have an office, when you got overhead, and the other people, they just assemble a crew of guys, and they got a van, or some minor expenses. It's hard to compete with them. Those were tough times, um, from 2008 till 2012, 13. Those were really tough times for the business. Um, and I say, when I left, we didn't really hit the bottom of the trend yet. But when I left, we were probably doing maybe
Can you guys
1.5 to
shower
2 million
somewhere else? Oh,
in sales. 1.5 to 2 million in sales. But that's all residential and only drywall. So
wow.
that's only drywall. So that's quite a bit of drywall. On the prior to that, the sales were much higher. They were probably double that.
Oh wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, no, it really did really bad for everybody, not just for us. It was just bad times for everybody.
No, definitely. So just to kind of recap and make sure the audience knows, you had left to Mexico around 2007, 8-ish, you said, or a little bit
2011.
2011. So you kind of saw that downturn. You saw
Yeah,
competition. You saw your workers starting to compete with you, right? Which is a big part of business, especially in the labor market. You teach someone your skill, you teach someone those things, and then all of a sudden they turn out to be your competitor, and probably dropping their prices and talking to your clients and all that type of stuff. So interesting time. What so then you leave, come back, and you said that actually the business had, recovered and doubled. So now, where did you
no,
find, what's that?
no, the business didn't. It was recovering, but it did not double. What I said is that prior to the economic collapse of '07, '08, our business was double of what it was
Oh,
during
okay.
that time.
Okay. All right. Thanks for clarifying that. So when you came back, your sister, your brother are in the business, your dad, so we're talking about family-owned business. That sometimes can be hard. Next generation, they always say the second generation of a business is statistically proven to fail around 72% of the time. So tell us, give us a little insight. How did you when you came back, how did you position yourself, and what did you do to be able to take the next steps with your brother and sister and your dad?
Okay. When I came back, the business for like maybe 2 years has started making the transition from residential to commercial
Mm-hmm.
projects. It was a painful transition. Many companies try to do that, and many fail. It's not easy, but we were making it, and little by little, my father, my sister, and my brother were building their clientele on that. It was a very slow process, but it was slowly but surely. So when I was still living in Mexico, my father had told me, and it was in December of 2014. Um, he told me, what, we're starting to take this direction. I need you to come back,
Mm-hmm.
because he's like, I need you to come back. You're really good with numbers. You're really good with dealing with talking to people, clients, and we're taking one direction. It has great potential. So, me being obviously, I always, been there for my family. I'm the oldest, so you know, the business I had in Mexico, I closed that, came over here, and we started, and that's when I really took the position as the estimator, the main estimator, the person trying to, get the new clients, and so on. That I really took that position, and that's when we really started growing. Because when I came here, we were doing small projects like in framing, installation, acoustic ceiling, uh, door installation, miscellaneous things like that. And we haven't we weren't doing that for me, but we were starting to get more into the carpentry aspect of construction and commercial. So, but we were sticking to small little build outs, like probably around 25 to $40,000 in the scope.
Okay. All in commercial, right?
All in commercial, yes.
Okay.
We probably had, I want to say, maybe 4 or 5 carpenters.
Okay.
On staff, a couple of drywallers, some tapers. So it wasn't a big operation. So when I came in, I started bidding a lot, and I started getting more aggressive on getting bigger projects that had much more complicated scope. Like doing a build out for, like, let's say an office an office setting, that's very easy. You just build some partitions and do the drywall installation. It's just fairly easy. But when you start doing like the exterior structural framing of a grocery store, of a apartment building, or any kind of ground up construction, you need to start learning more of the structural drawings. You start learning what the engineer is trying to tell you, and the architect, and you need to have more higher skilled carpenters, much higher skill that know how to read blueprints, that know how the job's supposed to progress, how it's supposed to be managed, because that foreman will have, depending on the job, 2 to maybe 10, maybe more people under his belt at that job. So it really becomes much more tougher to take that next step, which we took. That's one of those moments where we say, we have to take that step to stay ahead of the competition. And we've been successful, and now we love getting those jobs.
Now,
we'll do the build-outs, but we love the big jobs, the complicated ones.
what would you say to someone? I mean, I guess when you say the difficultness of changing kind of direction from residential, simple kind of office structures to then these big ones, did you learn a new software that allowed you to then estimate those things better? I mean, what were some things there? And then also, how did you get into some of the clientele that allowed you to get that type of business?
Okay, as far as how to learn to do better takeoffs, actually, I didn't start using the software takeoff program until last year.
Okay.
So it was all by we will send the prints to get printed. We'll print a set of prints, and here in my office, I'll just flip through the big pages.
Yeah.
And just do my takeoffs by hand with a scale and pen and paper and calculator.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, eventually you do so much that you get efficient. And I was just procrastinating on making that transition, and eventually last year, around a year ago, I did it, and now I'm having a hard time wanting to go back because it's so much more faster and it's much better. Yeah. But as long as you know how to do the takeoffs and know what you're looking at, then doing it on the blueprint or on a software program, it really is only a matter of efficiency and time, because the price would be the same, the takeoffs would be the same. And what was the other question right now that you used?
Yeah, so that was a great one, just to learn how you transition maybe from a manual perspective, time to software, but then also how did you actually acquire the clientele that was big enough that did you do marketing? Construction is a little bit different, right? It's not just putting an ad on a TV or Facebook ad nowadays. How did you build those relationships and grow that market?
In construction, marketing is it's very tricky. The best way to advertise your company is word of mouth. Honestly, it's old school. Having a website helps. It does help. Putting billboards, Facebook, all this stuff. Yeah, you can say it does have a positive impact, but you can have the best website in the world, the best pictures and videos and presentation, everything you want. But if if your reputation is not good, it's not going to do you any good.
Mm.
Or you can have you don't have to have if you don't have a website, maybe you are losing some traffic, you are losing some potential leads, But eventually, if your work is good, your reputation is good, it's a pretty good chance that uh, people will see your work and they'll just say, hey, I saw what you did at that restaurant, hospital, and here I'm doing this project. Give me advice. That's that's typically how it works in construction. It's just your reputation, honestly. It's huge. It's huge. Your reputation. You need to be able to deliver on time. In commercial, once the spotlight's on you, it's go time. There's none of this. Oh, hold on, give me a couple of days, like in residential. In residential, you have more of a grace period. In commercial, you may get 1 day if you're lucky. One
Done.
day, because you know ahead, way ahead, when it's your turn to show up, and they want it now. Because think about it. Let's say we got a client A. He wants to open a grocery store. He wants to open it now because he's losing sales.
Sure.
And when you're doing your own home, you want to make sure it's the best house as possible. So you don't mind waiting a little bit longer for the better material that you decided to get for your house, or the extra attention to details for your home. So there's a difference in mentality from commercial to residential from that point of view.
Now,
And as far as, go ahead.
no, I was just going to interject and just saying, as you got that bigger clientele, even though there is that speed to the game, was there also still a difference? I'm just thinking off the cuff of my head. You said grocery store. You might have a smaller grocery store that, wants that speed, but then does a Mariano's type grocery store, do they care more about the kind of the infrastructure, the tools, the things like that you'd be building out, or is it all kind of same in that construction mindset?
Okay. Let me get to that one. But as far as like building the clientele,
Yeah.
I didn't touch on this. As far as building the clientele, um, there's programs that GCs use like Building Connect and others, and they'll just send you like one of our best clients that we got him through that program. He didn't know me, I didn't know him. He sent me, he just sent it to people. He's looking for bids. He liked my number. He tried us out, and you know, like must have been like 4 years later, we do a lot of work for this person.
And you
Your
said
next
what
question,
process was that? Through RFP or
no, Building Connected.
Building Connect? Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
And then to answer your next question, as far as the quality expectations from smaller clients or different clients, you know, that's one of the difficulties that people, when they make that transition from residential to commercial, that they have, that they're not used to the increased pace, the accelerated pace of commercial. Because here's the thing, not only are you under pressure to deliver, but you need to deliver quality. Just because you're going fast doesn't mean that they're going to forgive you, a poor quality work. Like, no, if it's poor quality, they want you to fix it. So you gotta be fast, you gotta be efficient, and you gotta offer good quality. And that's really tough because, you're asking for a very it gets tough. You're asking for something it's not impossible, but it's on a higher level of degree to achieve.
Definitely. You're given a sense of kind of the things even that you did operationally with your employees, right? Obviously, your sister, your brother, and your dad weren't the only ones, right? So can you give us, I guess, segue a little bit? You built out your clientele. You're starting to build this program out. You're seeing the speed of the game. What are you doing to manage your employees so that they have that same quality mindset? And do you have any checkpoints? Is there any key performance indicators? Are you going back to the office and saying, okay, hey, this project, this project, this project, where are we at with that? Do you go on site and just see your guys on that data they're supposed to produce? How give me a little bit of that dynamic.
Okay. Yeah. There's checks and balances to that to determine and make sure our guys are producing as efficiently as possible. So the way we have our business set up, like my sister, she's head up all the ins and outs of the business as far as money flows, payments, what do you call it? Sales
Receivables and stuff. Yeah.
expenses.
Yep.
She's in charge of all that, insurance. Um, she deals with all the administration, payroll, and so on. She deals with all that. I am 100% focused on the estimating because once you get to this level that you're getting to so many clients and you're getting many jobs, it really takes a lot of your time and attention to make sure you're bidding properly and at a competitive price. You don't want to be too high, but you don't want to do it for free.
Mm.
If you're going fast, you got a phone call in the middle, they distract you for some reason, then you're like, oh, did I measure this already or did I not? And then you're unsure, so you start all over and you lose time. Or you might skip it and then you're cheap on the proposal and you lose some money there. So my dad, he's on the field. He loves being on the field.
All right.
He loves being with the workers. He doesn't work. He's just checking on them, seeing how they're doing. But he loves it being out there, and so he checks the guys, make sure they got what they need, make sure they're 100% on their tools, and equipment and materials. Make sure that there's enough work for them to perform at max capacity, and he's the one that makes sure all that's happening right, and that we're not just trying to avoid leaks from that.
I love it. So you've described, for some people listening here, I think yours, and tell me if I'm wrong here, but it looks like you're kind of in that sales relationship, marketing management side of things, right? So you're a bit of the VP of sales per se. Your sister looks like she's kind of on the financial side, more of like a CFO, managing the business, understanding expenses, lowering those. Where's the cost of goods coming in? Your dad is in the operations side, right? He's in the field, foreman, checking out the quality work, inspiring his guys to do the best. So that's pretty awesome. I mean, that's now you got three or four different controls in your business. So tell us a little bit about, it seems like you came back, you guys redeveloped your plan of attack. You're in this world now where you built credibility in the higher level of construction, especially in the commercial side. So, what are some things today now that are your day to days? Have things changed over the last few years? Do you have an apprentice at this point? If you need to leave, for a couple weeks for vacation or something like that, how does work get done in your particular position as a co-founder, as a co-owner?
My particular position, I am currently really close to hire an assistant that can help me with estimating. Uh, we're at that position that the estimating part has become so overwhelming,
Hmm.
um, and you can only look at a screen for so many hours straight before you're mentally fatigued.
Yeah.
Your body, you feel tired. You feel like you've been working out in labor all day long, but you haven't. You can sit it down, but you're mentally fatigued. So I'm at that point where I need to really look for help, and so we can continue to grow. And so sometimes when I want to take a vacation, like I try to keep my vacations right now no more than a week, because it's happened many times. Like I go to Mexico with my family, visit family over there for a week and a half, and my first days there, I'm getting just a bunch of invites to bids. I was like, why couldn't it be there last week? Or why couldn't it's like they know I'm going, and just
Oh, it
a bunch
happens.
of invites.
Yeah.
And I was like, so so I told him, what, I'm in Mexico, and so I'll try to get to it. I've even in Mexico, I've gone to we go to a small town. I've gone to the bigger city, and get a copy of the print and work at it.
Okay.
Work on a proposal in Mexico,
Okay.
and I'll send the pictures to my sister. She types it up and sends it. I just don't because we don't want to lose the customer or disappoint the customer.
No, no, and that's part of scaling, right? I mean, now you're starting to develop that muscle of, all right, like, hey, I'm going to bring someone on, I'm going to teach them, but business never stops. So,
Yeah.
and you mentioned technology and making that move. So let's kind of keep on that same venue. You introduced now this new software. Has that helped for the ability to then be remote, right? Be in Mexico and not and help in the estimating side because you know physically how to do it. Now you see everything on a screen. Are you able to still be as close on your quotes or your quotes to bidding, or how has that helped dynamically on that?
The main thing that the software doing the proposals on the computer, the main thing that helps you in this is the saving time
Okay.
because you don't have to flip through, excuse me, 40 different pages, maybe more on the larger projects. You don't got to flip around, flip around. The program saves you linear feet, your square footage, and it has so many tools that you can use that really make you more efficient. Like I can probably do, let's say, if on the plan, on the blueprint, it will take me 4 hours to put a proposal on the software program. It takes me maybe 2 hours, maybe a little bit more, but it's almost by half.
Yeah.
So there's huge time savings. The program's expensive, but it's well worth it. It pays for itself in no time.
Neat.
So that's the main thing. As far as accuracy on proposals, no, because if you're not focused and you're not focusing on what you're doing, you can miss details on paper or on the screen.
Sure.
So as far as that, as far as accuracy and of the price, that's all in your focus and know what you're looking at.
Interesting. So yeah, looking at all the details, right? In the bidding world of business, boy, being wrong, right, for a certain type of project seems like you could probably miss out pretty big because you still have to pay your guys a certain hours, right? Are
Yes,
you guys union or non-union? How does that work for your type of business?
we're non-union.
Okay, awesome. And then how many employees do you have currently?
Because of the pandemic, we really had to let go a lot of good people we had. Just really quick, prior to March, before the shutdowns, we thought we were going to have a stellar year, break
Okay.
records. It was on track because usually the winter time tends to be slower, and that's just you know how the business works in this industry. But we were busy. We probably had, I'm going to say, full-time carpenters. We were probably in the mid 20s
20s.
full-time.
Wow. Okay.
And to keep and these are good carpenters. They're not like, oh, they're barely learning how to use their tools. No, these are good, high-paid carpenters that we got to stand that, you need a lot of wood to keep these guys busy. And we did have a lot. And right now we're probably a half of that, maybe less. We probably got like 10, maybe 12 carpenters. And we actually had a taping crew full time back then. And to have a taping crew of 4 people, that means as a rough carpenter that does framing, drywall, etc. To have a taping crew full time, that means you're busy.
Yeah.
Because a taping crew is only going to take, they're not going to do anything else. So that
Wow.
means you have multiple jobs, big jobs, small jobs, whatever, going at the same time to keep those guys busy. We had a crew of hangers because carpenters know how to hang drywall, but drywall hangers become very fast, very efficient, very professional. And carpenters, they're just as good as far as their quality and hanging, but they're slow. They
Okay.
won't be as fast.
Not as fast. Interesting. And that all saves time and money, right? So interesting. So at the beginning of this year, last year, 2019, were you guys a seven-figure gross sales or a little bit
Uh,
under?
no, last year we hit probably 4 million.
4 million. Okay, yeah. So definitely a seven-figure business. So $4 million.
I'm sorry, I thought I heard 8 figure.
No,
Sorry.
no, no. Sorry. Well, hey, let's get you guys to eight figures, right? So that's the goal,
Yeah.
and hopefully nine figures. But okay, so you're a $4 million business, 2019. You got hit a little bit in 2020, but that's interesting. I mean, you're really giving an opportunity to 20 carpenters. You got a full staff of or a full team of hangers. So from the top of the house, I mean, what other strategies do you guys start thinking of? You know, if you think about where you came from those summers being worked with your dad when he's building his business, you know, to taking some time to go to Mexico, coming back, transitioning within your industry to a different type of clientele, increasing the pace of play. You just made a nice investment last year into this software, and now that's speeded up, you know, half the time, which is you know, if you're worth $1,000 an hour, that's a lot of time to a lot of money to save. So like you said, it's paid for it. But what are you guys thinking now? Like what strategy sessions do you, your sister and your dad and your brother, if he's a part of it, you know, what are you guys thinking nowadays and how to, you know, go the next 3, 4, 5 years?
Well, as far as looking further down the next 5 years or further down, um, we obviously need to continue making sales. We don't like to see with us. It's become difficult to get new clients at a consistent pace because our current clients just keep us so busy.
Okay.
And sometimes when I do get a new client, um, uh, I tell them, you know, they tell me if I'm always out there, you know, looking for new people, because that's not a good sign in construction, you know,
Oh,
because it's weird how that you would think that's the opposite, right? I mean, but it's weird because, you know, one of our good clients, he doesn't want us to. Let's say if you're my client, and you're going to try to keep me as busy as possible. You don't want me doing work for other people.
yeah.
Because you want me to know I got to keep Garcia busy, so you just throw a bunch of work at us. So, and that's one of the things that I told the new clients, like, well, what happens with us is once you try us, you don't let go of us. You know, so I mean that speaks volumes. I mean, because if we do a terrible job, then you don't use it again.
Yeah, yeah. You do basically one and you're done if you don't do the right job, right? Now,
And that's kind of what how a GC would look at a subcontractor that's just bouncing from GC to GC and doesn't have a reliable clientele.
but all the same, I mean, let's talk about, you know, you just went from 20, you scaled down a little bit because of everything going on, but now the ability to grow back, does that mean that even though they're wanting to for you to commit to them, if they stay consistent on giving you the work, you've got a dedicated team for that. Can on the side, and I'm just thinking out loud, you know, are you still strategically bringing on new, as you bring on a new client, are you building new teams to be dedicated to that one, or how do you do that?
Well, I mean, the teams that we have, you know, since the current clients can go maybe a month with no new work, and all of a sudden they land 3, 4, 5 jobs, or you know, there's it's just very there's a lot of there's a lot of variables. It's not consistent that they're landing 2 jobs every month. But, you know, they can land 0 jobs one month and then land 6 the next one.
Yeah.
So no, the crews we have, they work in the jobs of all of our customers. But now with the pandemic, we have taken a more active role in getting new clients because many of our clients they've slowed down. A lot of projects they had in the pipeline put on hold, got canceled. You know, so it has forced us to put more emphasis on getting new clients. So that's been a bigger part this year of me, you know, getting new clients, and it's been really tough because there's not the amount of work there out there. It's not that much. So you get the same amount of people going after fewer jobs,
Mm.
and you know how that is. That's not very good for the person trying to make the sell. That's great for the person with the project and for the GC. That's wonderful because you get to pick and choose. But as the one trying to get the job, then you know you have to work with less.
Yeah.
And at
And
the same time, our employees, you know, our employees, you know, they're not. It's not like you can tell them, oh, you know what, because you know this job we took a 10% cut to get it or 5%, your salary is going down. Like you
no,
can't do that,
no,
you know,
no.
and you can't do that. So like the boss, the GC, I mean the owner takes takes the job with a smaller margin.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Yeah, it all flows up, right? With your worker, with their X amount an hour, you as a business owner, your overhead, everything you're doing. So how did you guys, over the last probably 6 months, obviously, since we've gotten the whole Corona thing, um, how did you guys deal with knowing how, your cash flow? I know that you had to let go of some people, but, was there any aspect of that that you worked with your sister, she's as the CFO on her side, that you kind of dove into, or did you kind of just oversee and you just wanted some reports to kind of make sure that you had some accountability on that?
No, she's really good at what she does. She's fantastic. Without her, my dad wouldn't have the time to do what he does, or I wouldn't have the time to do what I
Sure.
do. It's just it really is an indispensable part that she has. Uh, um, but no, she will report to us. This is where we're at. This is what we had. This is what's out there to collect. This is what we owe. This is our billables, our payables, and so on. And then we'll give our input and decide what and brainstorm and meet up and see what we want to do as a company. But she tells us where we're at, where our numbers are at, and so on. It reports to my father and I, and then we meet up and discuss it.
I love it. Look, I appreciate obviously kind of walking us through the journey that you've been able to share. It seems like we could probably talk for another 3, 4 hours. I want to be respectful of your time, and the community's gotten used to, that 45 to 60 minutes and just sharing. So, one of the things that we'll do, Julian, is meet up with you again. About 6 months from now, we'd love to find out kind of where you guys are at. What's the transition been? That'll be probably about the end of March, maybe beginning of April, and seeing kind of what that year has started to become after the first quarter. So, one of the things that we like to end with, Julian, is the C is for client experience, the E is for employee engagement, and the O is for operational excellence. So, tell us a little bit about what's the differentiator for Garcia Professional Drywalling in the client experience side. What do you think you guys are doing better than anybody else just in that particular piece of the puzzle?
One of the things I think we're doing better is keeping your word. Uh, there's in construction, in the contract part of it, there's a lot of things that are not exactly good. People can take advantage. But when the client calls you and he tells you, Julian, can you do this job for 100 grand? And you say, yeah, okay, you can do it. When can you start? Next Monday. You keep your word, and later you don't go back and try to nickel and dime or try to scalp a couple grand here and there. When you keep your word with people that value it, I mean that goes miles and miles to improving your business and getting just a great reputation for your company out there. So keeping your word and being professional and owning up to mistakes. Mistakes are made, and when you own up to it, you take the hit. Um, sorry, you take the hit, you move on, and you're professional about it. When you make a mistake, you're professional. Um, you don't go and tell you let your employees know your employee made a mistake that costs you money. You let them know, but you're not out there. Hey, I'm gonna deduct $500 from your check.
Hmm.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
Because the mistakes are not on purpose. They're mistakes. You just let them know, hey, you weren't perfect.
You kind of went right into employee engagement, so it sounds like you're the same way. Not only with your clients are you honest, but you keep it real with the employees. Is that one of the reasons too that is a differentiator with Garcia Professional Drywall? Like, why are people
Oh, yeah.
staying with you guys as employees nowadays?
Oh, yeah. Honestly, that's in any business. Your employees is your base. If you have a strong base, you can go a long way. And how do we keep good, great, not just employees for the long term, but great talents? We bring in great talent. It's very simple. You got to pay them on time and pay them good. You pay them good. Since I got it really quick, since I came here, our lower skill carpenters, they were making low 20s per hour. That was back in 2015, 2016. Right now, that same level carpenter is making 28, $30.
Wow. Okay. That's a
And
huge jump.
yeah, I mean, salaries have gone up in construction, but and we treat them fair. I mean, we treat them really good. You know, they get apparel on Thanksgiving. We give them a big turkey. If I go to Mexico and I know one of them likes tequila, I get them a nice bottle. You know, things like that. And they show appreciation. It's not always paying them a more. I mean, sure, more money's fine, but sometimes when you think about them, like the things they like, you know, that also is a nice gesture. And and we try to keep them busy. That's why we tell them, as long as you do your job, you're letting me do mine. You make money, I make money, and we're all happy.
That's awesome. I learned a long time ago there's something called EPR. So encourage, praise, and recognize, right? There's something to that with what you just said is knowing your people, knowing if they like that bottle of tequila, knowing that, maybe they need a little time off for certain ways or what have you. So awesome. Well, the last one we'll end it with is operational excellence. Tell us a little bit about why Garcia Professional Drywall is, top notch on the operation side.
Well,